The morning air in Chicago carried a hint of frost, and Pero Lawson could feel the sting in his fingertips as he pulled open the doors to his new office. It wasn't much, just 2 rooms above a small auto shop, but to him, it was more than enough. It was honest. After months of struggle and rebuilding, Pero and Deshawn had finally begun to restore their footing. Their new company, LD Builders, was small but respected. Every project they handled was done by the book, no shortcuts, no shady contracts, no ego. Pero had learned his lesson the hard way, and he wasn't about to forget it. Still, the ghosts of his past lingered. Every time he passed the South Loop site, he could still smell the smoke, still hear the faint siren echoes of that night. Sometimes, in the quiet of the office, he'd catch himself staring at his reflection in the window and asking silently, "Will people ever forgive me?" That day, as Pero was going through blueprints, Deshawn walked in carrying 2 coffees. "You've been here since dawn again," he said, setting 1 cup on the desk. Pero smiled faintly, trying to make sure the Ridgeway contract doesn't blow up in our faces. Deshawn chuckled. "Relax, man. You've done everything right this time. You even triple-checked the safety reports." Pero nodded but didn't respond. Deshawn could tell the man still carried guilt, like a shadow stitched to his spine. Later that afternoon, a woman walked through the office door. She was in her early 40s, dressed neatly but with an air of quiet anger. Deshawn looked up first. "Good afternoon, How can we help you?" Her gaze swept the room before settling on Pero. "You're Pero Lawson." He froze. "Yes, I am. My name is Angela Morris," she said calmly, though her tone carried years of restrained pain. "My brother, Tony Morris, was one of the workers who died in that warehouse fire 2 years ago." The room went still. Even the faint hum of the heater seemed to fade. Deshawn glanced at Pero, then stepped back to give them space. Pero stood slowly, his voice low and uncertain. "Mrs. Morris." Miss," she corrected sharply. "I never married. Tony was all the family I had." She took a breath, her eyes glistening but strong. "I've waited 2 years to look the man responsible in the eye. I don't want your money. I don't want excuses. I want to know why." Pero swallowed hard. "There's no answer that'll make it right. I was arrogant. I thought being successful meant cutting corners and proving everyone else wrong. I ignored warnings, and people paid with their lives, including your brother. And not a day goes by that I don't wish I could trade places with him." Angela's eyes softened slightly, but her jaw stayed firm. "I saw what happened to you after the fire. The news, the lawsuits, the humiliation. I thought that was justice. But somehow, watching you fall didn't bring me peace. I came here today to see if you'd actually changed or if you were just rebuilding your ego." He looked her straight in the eyes. "I'm rebuilding my character, not my name." As Pero watched, he felt a sense of peace he hadn't known in years. For the first time, he wasn't building for profit. He was building for purpose. He turned to Deshawn. "Funny, isn't it? All this time, I thought strength was about never admitting weakness. But maybe it's about knowing when to stop pretending you're perfect." Deshawn grinned. "Now that's a man who's finally learned." Pero smiled faintly. "Learned the hard way." He looked up at the steel rising against the sunset, its orange glow reflecting in his eyes. "But at least I learned." As weeks passed, the Tony Morris homes became more than just a project, it became a story. Local newspapers picked it up, calling it a symbol of second chances. Angela visited often, sometimes with other families who'd lost loved ones in the fire. Slowly, forgiveness took root. And when the grand opening came, Pero stood on the podium, his voice steady but emotional. "I used to think learning meant reading books, winning deals, or outsmarting competition," he said to the crowd. "But true learning comes from humility, from loss, from finally realizing that every mistake is a mirror. And until you face what you see, you'll never grow." He looked at the sign behind him, the Tony Morris homes, and smiled through tears. "I learned the hardest way possible. But I thank God I learned before it was too late." The crowd applauded, and for the first time in years, Pero felt whole again. What mistake from your past still pushes you to do better today? Tell me in the comments. Someone might learn from your story. As the sun dipped behind the Chicago skyline, Pero looked over at Deshawn, at Angela, and at the families whose new homes stood tall and safe. He thought back to that night of the fire, the flames, the screams, the guilt, and then forward, to the sound of children laughing in the new courtyard. It was as if life had whispered to him one final truth. When you learn from others' mistakes, you gain wisdom. But when you learn from your own, you gain character. Thank you for watching this story to the end. For the first time, she blinked back tears. Pero stepped forward, his voice trembling. I can't undo what I did, Miss Morris. But I can build something that honors the people I failed. If you'll let me, I'd like to name our next housing project after your brother, the Toni Morris Homes. A place for families who need safety, not fear. Angela stared at him for a long moment. You'd do that? I need to, he said quietly. Because if I don't, then nothing I've learned means anything. She nodded slowly, fighting to keep her composure. Then I'll hold you to that. As she turned to leave, she paused at the door. You know, she said softly, my brother always said something I never understood till now. He used to tell me, learn from fools if you have to, but learn before you become one. She met Pero's eyes once more. Guess both of us learned the hard way. When she left, the office felt heavier and lighter all at once. Deshawn stepped forward and placed a hand on Pero's shoulder. You did the right thing, man. Pero exhaled. Maybe. But the right thing doesn't erase the wrong. It just means I'm finally walking in the right direction. That evening, Pero and Deshawn stood at the Ridgeway site, overlooking the skeleton of what would become the Toni Morris Homes. The workers moved carefully, double-checking every beam, every line, every weld.